We're talking USC Trojans today on Sharpen the Point. 2024, disappointing 7-6, but the defense was improved massively while the offense really needed to step back up under Lincoln Riley as he enters his fourth season with the Trojans. Offensive coordinator change with Luke Heward. It's his first season being promoted from the quarterback coach, but realistically this is Lincoln's offense and I would have it no other way. Defensive coordinator D'Anton Lynn, he enters his second season. He is a star coach in the making. He absolutely improved this defense leaps and bounds from the previous year. Quarterback-wise, Miller Moss was replaced by Jaden Maeva for the final 4 games of the season, leading to him going to Louisville off of an underwhelming season by Riley standards. Upon Moss's departure, many thought that USC would be a big spender in the portal to bring in someone to take the reins, but they stuck behind Maeva and never really seemed to sniff around too much. A move that I feel was the right one, though. He showed well in his freshman season at UNLV en route to winning Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Year. And to close out last season, yeah, he had ups and downs, which was to be expected, namely too many interceptions, but he just kind of kept on chucking it and wasn't really fazed too much. You know, the Notre Dame performance was a standout for me because although he threw 2 pick sixes late and they were 99-yarders, he did manage to put up a 360-yard, 3-touchdown line with 2 more touchdowns on the ground, and that was a quality defense as we saw in the playoffs how they were able to lock down other teams. Maeva's a good athlete, capable of using his legs, and does a nice job with feeling the pocket, which allows him to avoid taking too many sacks. Behind Maeva, all eyes are going to be on 5-star freshman Houston Longstreet, who has a ton of raw talent and big potential to be the next in a long line of Lincoln Riley projects. Running back, Woody Marks came in from Mississippi State. He was who we all thought he would be, a dependable workhorse back who could get what was blocked for him and be a factor in the pass game. He turned that into almost 1,500 all-purpose yards and 9 touchdowns. Now he graduates, and former backup, who was going to be the presumed starter, Quentin Joyner, left for a bag at Texas Tech, which left the room pretty thin. Brian Jackson comes back. He had less than 40 carries and 200 yards on the year, so they went out and grabbed an experienced back with a ton of juice in Eli Sanders from New Mexico. Sanders previously was the lead back for a little bit at Iowa State as well before Abu Sama came on. Sanders posted over 1,000 yards with 9 touchdowns. He averaged north of 7 yards per carry for the Lobos last year. He's going to provide a little bit of lightning to the room, which is going to complement the power that Jackson and Marion Peterson do well. Wayman Jordan, he comes from JUCO. He's been getting a ton of hype in the spring. He could very well be the guy if things continue to go his way. And I'll be interested to see how this room plays out with Jordan, Sanders, Jackson, with Peterson in the background probably. Pass catching wise, the targets were fairly spread out a year ago, but now a lot of those depth pieces depart, including Zachariah Branch, who heads to Georgia. Deuce Robinson goes to Florida State. With them now gone, the top 2 targets from last season, Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, should see an increased amount of targets as they are head and shoulders above the rest of the room. Lemon was insanely efficient with his targets last season, catching over 77% of the balls thrown his way. He's one of the better players out of the slot in college, and he showed a good rapport with Maeva over the last 2 games, combining for 15 catches and 232 yards. He does a great job of finding an open space in the defense to settle down and present a good target. I'd like to see him find the end zone a bit more, but the catches and yards will be there for him to make a substantial impact on the offense. Lane, for his part, he's the antithesis of Lemon with a large frame at 6'4" and a very good end zone threat who I'd like to see get more targets between the 20s to realize his potential. He also showed great rapport with Maeva, specifically in the red zone. He caught 7 touchdowns over the final 3 games of the season that he played with him. With more targets available in this offense, I think Lane could very well be on his way to putting it all together and be the breakout player of this team. Beyond the top 2, it's fair to wonder what was going to happen. Prince Strahan from Boise State was brought in, and he's likely to get the first crack, but he's a gazelle running down the field as a vertical threat and not much more. He's kind of a wind sprinter. If they're looking for a more dynamic player in that spot, then a young guy will need to emerge. I think Xavier Jordan has that chance. The tight end's not used a ton in this offense, but it can be a useful piece, specifically up the seam, which is kind of where Lake McCree excels. He returns after an injury-plagued season. he's going to be in the top spot there. Offensive line-wise, the unit was a solid one a year ago, only gave up 15 sacks, provided plenty of room for the backs in the run game, but it loses 3 starters with center Jonah Mannheim going to the NFL, left guard Emmanuel Pregnon went to Oregon, and then right tackle Mason Murphy headed to Auburn, those guys transferring out. Left tackle Elijah Page is going to be the linchpin of the unit, and he provides stability protecting Maeva's blind side. The other returning starter, right guard Alani Noah, he struggled a bit last season, but the hope is he will improve from the experience he gained during that time. And then 2 transfers, DJ Wingfield, he comes in from Purdue, and John Ray Reed, he comes from Syracuse. They're the front runners to fill the left guard and center spots, while I would say there's a full-blown competition between some returning depth pieces at right tackle for that vacancy. There's really plenty of questions to be answered with this group outside of Page, but he is someone that they can build around and have confidence in. Defensive line-wise, a hallmark of any D'Anthony Lynn defense is a deep, heavy rotation along the line. Last season, they went 11 deep with nobody playing more than half the snaps. They did lose some of the depth, and the talent will take an initial hit, but he replenished with 2 transfers and a stud commitment out of high school. Cameron Fountain continuously improved throughout his freshman season. Now he's going to return to take on a larger role, hoping to continue that trend. Anthony Lucas is going to man one spot after suffering a season-ending injury midway through last season. He's going to need to wreak havoc in the backfield as they look to generate more negative plays than they did last season. Braylon Shelby and Devin Tompkins are going to return as well. They have good experience. And then transfers Keyshawn Silver from Kentucky and Jamal Jarrett from Georgia. They're going to factor into this rotation, while I think we all need to have our eyes on 5-star freshman Jakeem Stewart. He's going to be one to watch as he can make an impact right away. Silver, he was banged up in the spring, but he's a big body and he eats up space. Linebacker-wise, Easton Mascaronis Arnold, he's gone after playing nearly all the snaps and leading the team in tackles with 94. He made an impact all over the field, but was clearly limited in his pass coverage. His compadre, Mason Cobb, he's going to depart as well after being tasked to fill in for an injured Eric Gentry, and he wound up second on the team in tackles. Luckily, though, Gentry's going to return from that injury. He's going to be tasked with leading the defense, which he's more than capable of doing. Outside of him, there's kind of a lack of depth and experience here. Desmond Stevens is the top candidate to slot in next to Gentry after he got his feet wet as a freshman last year. Defensive backs. The secondary was the unit with the most on the team, with the 8 guys who played significant snaps graduating. Zion Branch followed over with Zachariah to Georgia. And then free safety Kamari Ramsey. He's really the only holdover and the certainty of the room. But he played extremely well for them a year ago, and he's going to be looked upon to lead the room. He's very familiar with Lynn and his defense, having been at UCLA with him as well. To supplement the losses, they added 4 impact transfers that are going to be involved right away. DJ Harvey from San Jose State, Bishop Fitzgerald from NC State, Chasen Johnson from UCF, and Kennedy Urlacher, that's Brian Urlacher's son, from Notre Dame, are all going to be relied upon to some degree. Harvey and Fitzgerald should play right away and be key contributors. Returners DeCarlos Nicholson and Prophet Brown, they're going to have a chance to see the field early as well. The talent is in the room to be good, and the room has depth, but how the guys stepping into new roles gel with the transfers will go a long way to how this unit performs. Schedule and outlook-wise, I like Maeva and the top 2 wideouts, but have concerns on the offense outside of that. Riley needs to get the offense back on track with the levels that he has reached in the past, even if he doesn't have a Heisman-level quarterback right now. The depth of the front 7 on the defense is a massive concern for me, but Lynn is a special coordinator. They showed improvement even when they lacked talent last season because the fundamentals got so much better under the coaching of Lynn. I expect further improvement from the defense this year in year 2. And ultimately, looking at the whole team, they played well at home last season in all their games with the being close to Notre Dame and a few other good home wins. But they struggled mightily on the road, so they really need to get used to these longer travel weeks. Schedule-wise, Missouri State, easy win. Georgia Southern, easy win. At Purdue, I wouldn't even count that as a road game because of how poor Purdue is. That's a win. Michigan State, that's a win. I think Childs can be a difference maker. That'll be a fun one, but they're at home. Maeva's better than Childs. I'll die on that hill. Michigan State's a win. At Illinois, that's a loss. That's a tough road game, tough team. I'm not buying it. Michigan, I'm going to lean loss at home, but I'm curious to see how they perform in that environment at home against that Michigan team if they are coming off of that loss at Illinois. Then you got to go to Notre Dame. I think that's a loss similar to Illinois. They're just better. At Nebraska, I'm going to lean loss here because of their track record of playing on the road. If they win a road game this year, it should be outside of Purdue. It should be at Nebraska, and I think that would be a statement win for them to get a win on the road in Lincoln. Northwestern, win. Iowa at home, I'm going to lean loss here. I think Gronowski's going to be just good enough, but that would be an interesting game to win at home. They could run the table at home depending on the Michigan and Iowa games. At Oregon, loss. UCLA, easy win at home. They should and will get off to a hot start. The hope will be that they can keep it going when the meat of the schedule comes along. 6 wins feels like a floor with the upside for 8 or 9 if they can steal one at Nebraska and win one of the tight home games. Improvements on both sides of the ball will go a long way to getting Riley away from the hot seat. But man, if they win 6 games, you got to think he's firmly planted on that hot seat. So he needs to get 8 or 9 wins with a statement win in there to prove that he is going to be here for the long haul.